The morning sun was hot on Jake Morrison's face as he walked through the forest with his team. He was 28 years old and had been a soldier for 10 years. His job was to keep the human colony safe from wild animals and other dangers. The colony was called New Haven, and it was home to 5,000 people who had come from Earth to start a new life. Jake's team had 4 other soldiers with him. There was Ben Cooper, who was good with machines. Lisa Park knew about medicine. Tom Bradley was the best shot with a rifle. And Danny White was young but brave. They all trusted Jake because he always kept them safe. "Sir, I'm getting strange readings on my scanner," Ben said, looking at the small device in his hand. "Something big crashed about 2 miles from here." Jake stopped walking and looked at Ben. "How big?" "Really big. Like a spaceship big." Jake felt his heart beat faster. No human ships were supposed to be in this area. That meant it had to be an alien ship. The humans had met a few alien races, but most of them stayed far away from human space. "Could be dangerous," Lisa said, checking her medical bag. "We should report this to base." Jake thought about it. The smart thing would be to call for backup and wait. But if someone was hurt in that crash, waiting might mean they would die. Jake had joined the army to help people, not to hide from danger. "We go look," Jake said. "But we stay careful. Ben, keep scanning for life signs. Everyone else, weapons ready." They walked through the thick trees for an hour. The forest was quiet, except for the sound of their boots on the ground and the calls of strange birds in the trees. Jake had learned to love this planet in the 3 years he had been here. It was peaceful, unlike the war zones where he had fought before. When they reached the crash site, Jake's mouth fell open. The ship was huge and made of metal that looked like silver glass. It was shaped like a teardrop and was stuck deep in the ground. Smoke was coming from several holes in its side. "Life signs inside," Ben whispered, looking at his scanner. "Very weak. Just one person." "Could be a trap," Tom said, pointing his rifle at the ship. Jake looked at the ship carefully. It did not look like any human ship he had ever seen. The metal was too smooth, and there were symbols carved into the side that looked like flowing water. "Lisa, stay here with Tom and Danny. Ben, you come with me. We go in slow and careful." Jake and Ben walked to a hole in the side of the ship. The metal around the hole was twisted and burned. Jake could smell something sweet in the air, like flowers. Inside the ship, everything was dark except for a few small lights that were still working. "Hello?" Jake called out. "Is anyone there? We want to help." He heard a small sound, like someone crying. Jake and Ben followed the sound through a narrow hallway. The walls were covered with more of those flowing symbols, and they seemed to glow softly in the dark. They found her in what looked like a bedroom. She was lying on a bed that was too big for her small body. Jake's breath caught in his throat. She was not human. The girl looked about 8 years old, but her skin was pale blue like the sky just before dawn. Her hair was long and white as snow. Her eyes were closed, but Jake could see they were shaped differently than human eyes. She was wearing clothes that looked like they were made of liquid silver. Blood that looked purple instead of red was coming from a cut on her forehead. Her breathing was very shallow, and Jake could see she was badly hurt. "She's just a child," Ben whispered. Jake knelt down beside the bed. The girl's eyes opened when she heard his voice. They were the most beautiful eyes Jake had ever seen, like looking at the ocean under starlight. But in those eyes, Jake saw something that made his heart hurt. She was terrified. "It's okay," Jake said softly. "We're here to help you. You're safe now." The girl tried to sit up but fell back down with a small cry of pain. She looked at Jake and Ben with wide, frightened eyes. She said something in a language that sounded like music, but Jake could not understand the words. "Ben, go get Lisa. This girl needs medical help right now." "But sir, she's an alien. We should report this to command first." Jake looked at Ben with hard eyes. "She's a child who's hurt and scared. That's all that matters. Go get Lisa." Ben ran back to get the others. Jake stayed with the girl, trying to think of how to help her feel safe. He remembered how his little sister used to be scared during thunderstorms when they were kids. His mother would sing to her and hold her hand. Jake did not know any alien songs, but he started humming an old song his mother used to sing. The girl's eyes got less scared, and she looked at Jake with curiosity instead of fear. When Lisa came with her medical bag, she stopped in the doorway and stared. "Oh my God, she's beautiful." "Can you help her?" Jake asked. Lisa knelt down and started checking the girl's wounds. "I think so. Her body is different from ours, but not too different. This cut needs stitches, and she has a broken rib. She's lucky to be alive." While Lisa worked, Jake held the girl's hand. Her skin was warm, just like a human child's. She looked at him with those ocean eyes, and Jake felt something change inside his heart. This was not just any alien. This was a little girl who was hurt and alone, and she needed someone to protect her. Jake made a decision that would change his life forever. He was going to take care of this child no matter what it cost him. 3 months had passed since Jake found the alien girl in the crashed ship. He had built a secret shelter in an old mining cave far from the colony. Every day he brought food and medicine to help her get better. Her name was Lyra, and she was a princess from a place called the Zephyrian Empire. Jake learned this because Lyra could speak inside his mind. At first it scared him when he heard her voice in his thoughts, but soon he got used to it. She was careful to only talk to him when they were alone, so no one else would know about her special gift. "Jake," her voice said in his mind as he brought breakfast to the cave. "I had another bad dream about the dark ships." Jake set down the food and sat beside her on the simple bed he had made from old blankets. Lyra was much better now. The cut on her head had healed, and her broken rib did not hurt anymore, but the fear in her eyes was still there. "Tell me about the dream," Jake said out loud. He had learned that Lyra felt safer when he spoke normally, instead of just thinking back. To her, Lyra closed her eyes. "The Void Hunters came to my world. Their ships are black like the space between stars. They took my people away in chains. My father told me to run, so I got in the escape ship. But they shot at me, and I crashed here." Jake felt angry every time he heard this story. What kind of monsters would attack children? He put his hand on Lyra's shoulder. "You're safe here. I won't let anyone hurt you." "But I can't stay hidden forever," Lyra said. "My people need to find me. I'm the only child of the Emperor. If I die, our royal line ends forever." Jake had been thinking about this problem for weeks. He knew that keeping Lyra secret was wrong, but he also knew that his commanders would want to study her like she was some kind of animal. He could not let that happen. "We'll figure something out," Jake promised. That afternoon, while Jake was on patrol with his team, Ben's scanner started beeping loudly. "Sir, I'm reading multiple ships coming down from orbit. They're not human designs." Jake's blood felt cold. Had the Void Hunters found Lyra? He looked up at the sky and saw 5 ships coming down through the clouds. They were beautiful, made of the same silver metal as Lyra's crashed ship, But these ships were not damaged. They moved like dancers in the sky. Ben, get on the radio. Tell Command we have alien visitors. Everyone else, defensive positions. The ships landed in a field near the colony. Jake could see that the people getting out were like Lyra. They had the same blue skin and white hair, but they were adults. They wore armor that looked like it was made of light itself. One of them stepped forward. He was tall and proud, with golden symbols on his armor. When he spoke, his voice was deep and sad. "People of Earth," he said in perfect human language, "I am General Terran of the Zephyrian fleet. We search for our lost princess. We mean no harm to your people." Jake's heart was beating fast. This was the moment he had been dreading. He had to make a choice. He could stay quiet and hope the Zephyrians went away, or he could do what he knew was right. "I know where she is," Jake said, stepping forward. General Terran's eyes got wide. "You have seen Princess Lyra? Is she alive?" "She's alive and safe. But before I take you to her, I need to know something. What will happen to her when you find her?" The general looked confused. "She will return to her people, of course. She is our future empress." "And what about the person who saved her life and kept her safe?" "They would be honored beyond measure," General Terran said. "In our culture, one who saves a member of the royal family becomes their guardian bond for life. It is our most sacred tradition." Jake did not fully understand what that meant, but he could hear the truth in the general's voice. These people would not hurt Lyra. "Follow me," Jake said. The walk to the cave felt like the longest walk of Jake's life. His team and the Zephyrian soldiers followed behind him. When they reached the cave, Jake called out, "Lyra, it's Jake. I have some people here who want to see you." Lyra came out of the cave slowly. When she saw General Terran, she started crying. Not sad tears, but happy ones. "Uncle Terran," she said, and ran to him. The big general picked her up and held her tight. Jake could see tears in his eyes, too. "Little star," he whispered. "We thought you were lost forever." Lyra pulled back and looked at Jake. "Uncle, this is Jake Morrison. He saved my life and took care of me. Without him, I would have died." General Terran put Lyra down and walked over to Jake. He got down on one knee and bowed his head. "Jake Morrison of Earth, you have given us back our greatest treasure. How can we repay this debt?" "You don't owe me anything," Jake said. "I just did what anyone should do for a child in need." "That is where you are wrong," General Terran said, standing up. "Not everyone would risk their career and safety to help a stranger. You have shown the honor and courage of a true warrior." Lyra walked over to Jake and took his hand. "I don't want to leave without Jake," she said. "I want him to come with us." "Lyra, I can't," Jake said. "I have duties here. My team needs me." "Please, Jake," Lyra's voice said in his mind. "I'm still scared. I feel safe when you're near me." Jake looked at this brave little girl who had been through so much. In 3 months, she had become like a daughter to him. The thought of never seeing her again made his chest hurt. General Terran seemed to understand what was happening. "Jake Morrison, I formally offer you the position of guardian bond to Princess Lyra. You would come with us and help protect her as she grows up. In return, you would be given rank and honor in our fleet. What do you say?" Jake looked at his team. Ben nodded at him. "Go, sir. She needs you more than we do." Lisa smiled. "Take care of her, Jake. She's special." Even Tom, who never showed emotion, said, "It's the right thing to do." Jake knelt down so he was at eye level with Lyra. "If I come with you, you have to promise me something," Anything, Lyra said. Promise me you'll be brave. Promise me you'll learn everything you can so you can help your people. And promise me you'll never forget that being kind is more important than being powerful. Lyra hugged Jake tight. I promise. And I promise I'll always remember that you saved me when I was lost and scared. As they walked back to the Zephyrian ships, Jake felt like his life was starting over. He was leaving everything he knew to help raise an alien princess. It should have been terrifying, but instead, it felt right. When they reached the ships, Lyra took Jake's hand again. Are you scared? She asked out loud. Jake looked up at the stars that were starting to appear in the evening sky. Somewhere up, there was an adventure bigger than anything he had ever imagined. A little, Jake said honestly. But I'm excited too. We're going to take care of each other, right? Lyra smiled, and for the first time since he had found her, there was no fear in her beautiful eyes. Right. Together we can face anything. 8 years had passed since Jake left Earth with Princess Lyra. Now she was 16 years old and had grown into a beautiful young woman. Her white hair fell to her shoulders like silk, and her ocean blue eyes sparkled with intelligence and kindness. She was taller now, almost as tall as Jake's shoulder, and she carried herself with the grace of someone born to lead. Jake was 36 now, with some gray in his brown hair and lines around his eyes from years of battles. He had become Supreme Commander of the Zephyrian Defense Forces, a title that still surprised him sometimes. The Zephyrian people had learned to respect human military tactics, and many young Zephyrian soldiers looked up to Jake as a hero. They were standing on the bridge of the flagship Star's Hope, looking out at the rebuilt Zephyrian homeworld below them. The planet was beautiful, with purple oceans and silver cities that sparkled in the light of 2 suns. Hard to believe it's been 8 years, Jake said, watching construction ships building new orbital stations. Sometimes it feels like yesterday, Lyra replied. Sometimes it feels like forever. She was different now from the scared little girl Jake had found in the crashed ship. Lyra had grown into a confident leader who spoke 5 languages and could outthink most of the royal advisors. But Jake could still see glimpses of that frightened child sometimes, especially when she thought no one was looking. Your coronation is tomorrow, Jake said. Are you ready to be Empress? Lyra's father, Emperor Thalaran, had died 3 months ago in the final battle against the Void Hunter mothership. It had been a great victory for the Zephyrian people, but it came at a terrible cost. Lyra had cried in Jake's arms for hours after they got the news. I don't know if anyone can be ready for something like this, Lyra said, but I have good people around me. I have you. Over the years, their relationship had changed in ways that confused Jake. Lyra was no longer the child he had rescued. She was a young woman with her own thoughts and dreams. And lately, Jake had started to notice things about her that made him uncomfortable. The way she looked at him sometimes. The way she found excuses to touch his hand or stand close to him. Lyra, we need to talk about something, Jake said. I know what you're going to say, Lyra replied, not looking at him. You think I'm too young to know my own feelings. Jake felt his chest tighten. It's not about age. It's about what's right. I'm your guardian. I'm supposed to protect you, not... Not what? Not care about me the way I care about you? Jake turned to look at her. In the light from the suns, her blue skin seemed to glow. She was beautiful, and Jake felt guilty for noticing it. Lyra, you're going to be Empress tomorrow. You'll have responsibilities to your people. You need to think about marriage alliances, about strengthening the empire. You can't waste time on feelings for someone like me. Someone like you? Lyra's eyes flashed with anger. You mean someone who saved my life? Someone who gave up everything to help me? Someone who has been more of a father to me than my own father ever was? The words hit Jake like a physical blow. That's exactly my point. I'm like a father to you. This isn't right. You're not my father, Jake. You're only 8 years older than me, and you're the bravest, kindest, most honorable man I've ever known. Why is it wrong for me to love you? Before Jake could answer, alarms started blaring throughout the ship. The bridge filled with officers running to their stations. Admiral Chen, Jake's second-in-command, rushed over to them. Sir, we have multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. It's the Void Hunters. They're back, and they brought friends. Jake's blood went cold. Through the bridge windows, he could see dark ships appearing like nightmares against the stars. There were dozens of them, more than the Zephyrians had ever faced at once. How did they get past our early warning systems? Jake demanded. Unknown, sir. They're using some kind of new stealth technology. Lyra stepped forward, and Jake could see the frightened child disappear as the future Empress took control. Admiral Chen, send word to all defense stations. Evacuate the civilian populations to the underground shelters. All military personnel to battle stations. Yes, Your Highness. Jake grabbed his communicator. All ships, this is Morrison. Form defensive line Alpha 7. Protect the planet at all costs. As the Zephyrian fleet moved into position, Jake and Lyra stood side by side on the bridge. They had done this many times before, fighting together against impossible odds. But this felt different. This felt final. Lyra, Jake said quietly, if we don't make it through this, we will, she said firmly. We always do. The first wave of Void Hunter ships attacked like angry hornets. Their black vessels fired red, beams that could cut through Zephyrian shields like paper. Jake watched as 3 of his ships were destroyed in the first few minutes. Take us in closer, Jake ordered. Use the Morrison maneuver. It was a tactic Jake had invented years ago. Instead of staying at long range, the Zephyrian ships would get very close to the enemy vessels, where their superior maneuverability could be used to advantage. As the Star's Hope dove toward the enemy fleet, Lyra closed her eyes and reached out with her telepathic powers. Over the years, she had learned to use her gifts in battle, coordinating the fleet's movements with a precision that no normal communication could match. Jake, she said, her eyes still closed. There's something different about their leader. His mind feels wrong, like it's full of hate and madness. Through the bridge windows, Jake could see the largest Void Hunter ship. It was twice the size of any they had faced before, covered in spikes and glowing with evil red light. That's their new destroyer king, Admiral Chen reported. Intelligence says he's been hunting us specifically. He blames you for all their defeats, sir. Jake felt a grim satisfaction. Good. Let the monster focus on him instead of innocent people. The battle raged for hours. Jake's tactics and Lyra's telepathic coordination kept the Zephyrian fleet fighting against overwhelming odds, but slowly they were losing. Too many ships, too much firepower. Hull breach on deck 7, someone reported. We're losing life support in sections 9 through 12. Jake felt a piece of shrapnel cut across his cheek. Beside him, Lyra was bleeding from a cut on her forehead, just like the day he had found her as a child. We can't keep this up, Admiral Chen said. We should retreat. No, Lyra said firmly. If we run, they'll follow us and destroy more worlds. This ends here. Jake looked at her and saw the woman she had become. strong, brave, willing to sacrifice everything for her people. In that moment, he realized something that changed everything. He wasn't just her guardian anymore. He wasn't just protecting a child. He was fighting beside a woman he loved with all his heart. "Lyra," he said, "when this is over, I need to tell you something." She looked at him, and he saw love and hope in her eyes, despite the chaos around them. "I already know," she said, "and I love you too." The Destroyer King's ship broke through their defensive line, heading straight for the Star's Hope. Jake could see the monster himself on the enemy bridge, a creature of darkness and hate. "All power to forward shields," Jake ordered. "Ram them." "Sir, that's suicide," Admiral Chen protested. "Trust me," Jake said. Then, to Lyra, "Do you trust me?" "Always," she replied. As the two ships raced toward each other, Jake took Lyra's hand. "If we die here, at least we die together." "We're not going to die," Lyra said. "We have too much to live for." At the last second, Jake ordered all power to the engines instead of the shields. The Star's Hope shot past the Destroyer King's ship and fired everything they had into its engine core. The explosion lit up space like a new sun. When the light faded, the Destroyer King's ship was drifting, powerless. The rest of the void. Hunter Fleet, seeing their leader defeated, retreated into hyperspace. In the quiet that followed, Jake and Lyra stood together on the damaged bridge, still holding hands. Around them, the crew was cheering, but Jake only had eyes for the woman beside him. "I love you, Lyra," he said. "Not as your guardian, not as your protector, but as a man who wants to spend the rest of his life making you happy. I've been waiting 8 years to hear you say that," Lyra replied, and kissed him. Tomorrow, she would be crowned empress. But tonight, she was just a young woman in love with the man who had saved her life and captured her heart. 2 years had passed since Jake and Lyra confessed their love for each other. Now Lyra was 18 and had been empress for 2 years. She ruled with wisdom and kindness, but their relationship had created problems across the galaxy. Jake stood in the royal garden, looking at the purple flowers that Lyra loved so much. Tomorrow was their wedding day, but instead of feeling happy, he felt worried. Too many people were angry about their choice to marry. "You look troubled," said a voice behind him. Jake turned to see Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a human scientist who had come from Earth 6 months ago. She was studying Zephyrian biology and had become a good friend to both Jake and Lyra. "The Galactic Council is threatening to cut off all trade with the Zephyrian Empire if Lyra marries me," Jake said. "Half of her own nobles think she's making a mistake." Elena sat down on a bench beside a fountain. "And what do you think?" "I think maybe they're right. Maybe I'm being selfish. Lyra could marry Prince Kael of the Draknari Empire and bring 50 worlds into an alliance. Or she could marry Ambassador Zeth and gain access to the Crystalline Confederation's wealth. What can I give her? I'm just a human soldier." "You're the man she loves," Elena said simply. "And from what I've seen, you two are amazing together. The way you work as a team, the way you trust each other completely, it's beautiful." Jake sat down beside her. "But is love enough? What if marrying me destroys everything we've built?" "Can I tell you a secret?" Elena asked. "The real reason I came here wasn't just to study Zephyrian biology. I've been working on something that might interest you and Lyra very much." Before Jake could ask what she meant, Lyra appeared in the garden. She looked beautiful in a simple, blue dress that matched her skin. but Jake could see the stress in her eyes. "The Council of Nobles wants to meet with me again," Lyra said, sitting on Jake's other side. "Lord Vexistar is leading a group that wants me to cancel the wedding." "What did you tell them?" Jake asked. "I told them that I'm the Empress, and I'll marry whoever I choose." Lyra took Jake's hand. "But I'm tired of fighting about this every day. Sometimes I wonder if we should just run away together." "We can't do that," Jake said. "Your people need you." "But what kind of leader am I if I can't even choose my own husband without causing a civil war?" Elena cleared her throat. "Actually, I have some news that might help with that. My research is complete. Jake, Lyra, it's possible for you two to have children together." Both Jake and Lyra stared at her. "What?" they said at the same time. "Human and Zephyrian DNA are more compatible than anyone thought. With some genetic therapy, you could have healthy hybrid children. They would be the first of their kind." Jake felt his world turn upside down. He had never dared to hope that he and Lyra could have a family together. He had accepted that loving her might mean giving up the chance to be a father. "Are you sure?" Lyra asked, her voice barely a whisper. "I've run the tests hundreds of times. It would require some medical procedures, but yes, I'm certain." Lyra started crying happy tears. "Children," she said. "Our children." Jake pulled her close, feeling more hopeful than he had in months. "This changes everything. When people see that our love can create new life, maybe they'll understand that different species can build a future together." Their happiness was interrupted by Captain Ryan Blake, Jake's old friend from Earth. He was running toward them with a look of panic on his face. "Jake, Lyra, you need to see this. The Crystalline Confederation just declared war on us. Their ships are already moving toward our border." Jake jumped to his feet. "What? Why now?" "Ambassador Zeth is furious that Lyra chose you over him. He's convinced his government that humans are a threat to galactic stability. They're calling for all primitive species to be contained." Lyra stood up, and Jake could see the Empress replacing the worried young woman. "How many ships?" 300, more than we've ever faced. And they have allies. Some of the Void Hunter clans that escaped have joined them." Jake felt ice in his veins. The Crystalline Confederation had the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Their ships could become invisible and their weapons could destroy planets. With Void Hunter reinforcements, they might be unstoppable. "We need to contact Earth," Jake said. "Ask for help from the human fleet." "I already did," Ryan said. "Admiral Parker is bringing everything we have, but it won't be enough. We're outnumbered 10-1. Lyra was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then she said, "We fight anyway. We protect our people and we don't surrender. If we're going to die, we die together." Jake looked at the woman he loved, standing straight and brave in the face of impossible odds. "We're not going to die. We're getting married tomorrow, remember?" "In the middle of a war?" Lyra asked. "Especially in the middle of a war. If the galaxy wants to destroy us for loving each other, then let's show them what that love can do." The next morning, Jake stood in the royal temple wearing his dress uniform. Around him were 200 people, both human and Zephyrian. Outside, space battles were raging as their fleets tried to hold back the enemy forces. Lyra walked down the aisle in a wedding dress that sparkled like starlight. She was the most beautiful thing Jake had ever seen. When she reached him, she took his hands and smiled. "Are you ready to be married to the most stubborn woman in the galaxy?" she asked. "I've been ready since the day I found you," Jake replied. The ceremony was conducted by both a human minister and a Zephyrian priest. They spoke words of love and commitment while explosions lit up the sky outside the temple windows. "Do you, Jake Morrison, take Lyra Velnara to be your wife, to protect and cherish her for all the days of your life?" "I do," Jake said, meaning it with every part of his soul. "Do you, Lyra Velnara, take Jake Morrison to be your husband, to love and support him through whatever challenges you may face?" "I do," Lyra said, tears of joy on her cheeks. As they kissed to seal their marriage, sirens started blaring. The enemy fleet had broken through the outer defenses and was heading for the planet. "Well, Mrs. Morrison," Jake said, "ready for our honeymoon?" "As long as it involves destroying some bad guys, I'm in," Lyra replied. They ran from the temple to the spaceport, still in their wedding clothes. Their friends and family followed them, ready to fight to protect the love they had just celebrated. As Jake's ship lifted off toward the battle, he looked at his new wife sitting beside him in the co-pilot seat. They had come so far from that, scared little girl and lonely soldier in the forest. Now they were partners in every way, ready to face whatever the galaxy could throw at them. "I love you, Empress Morrison," Jake said. "I love you too, my guardian," Lyra replied. "Now let's go save our people." The war for their love and their future was just beginning, but Jake knew that as long as they faced it together, they could overcome anything. 3 years had passed since Jake and Lyra's wedding day battle. The war against the Crystalline Confederation had been long and difficult, but they had won. Now Jake stood in the royal nursery, holding his newborn son while his daughter slept, in her crib nearby. Marcus had Jake's brown hair and human features, but his eyes were the same ocean blue as his mother's. Baby Zara had inherited Lyra's white hair and blue skin, but she had Jake's stubborn chin. They were 3 months old and already the most important things in Jake's life. "They're beautiful," said Dr. Elena Rodriguez, checking the baby's health charts. "Both perfectly healthy. The genetic therapy worked better than I ever hoped." Lyra was sitting in a chair nearby, still recovering from the difficult birth. Carrying hybrid children had been hard on her body, but she had never complained. She looked tired but happy as she watched Jake hold their son. "I can't believe they're really here," Lyra said softly. "Our children." Jake gently placed Marcus in his crib next to his sister. "Dr. Rodriguez, thank you for everything. Without your work, none of this would have been possible. It was my pleasure. These children represent hope for the future. They prove that different species can not only live together, but create something new and wonderful." The war had ended 6 months ago when young leaders from many worlds had demanded peace. Jake and Lyra's love story had inspired people across the galaxy. Millions of beings had watched their wedding and seen that love was stronger than fear or hatred. Commander Lisa Park, who was now head of human Zephyrian relations, had told Jake that there were over 1,000 mixed couples in the galaxy now. Humans were marrying Draknari, Zephyrians were falling in love with crystalline beings, and barriers between species were falling everywhere. "Your Majesty," said a voice from the doorway. It was Admiral Ryan Blake, Jake's oldest friend. "Sorry to interrupt, but the Galactic Council is here for the ceremony." Today was a special day. Marcus and Zara were going to be officially recognized as the first hybrid royalty in galactic history. Leaders from 50 worlds had come to witness this moment. "Are you ready for this?" Jake asked Lyra as he helped her stand. "We've faced everything else together. This should be easy compared to fighting space battles." They walked to the great hall, carrying their babies. The room was filled. with beings of every shape and color. Jake saw humans in military uniforms, Zephyrians in flowing robes, crystal people who sparkled like living diamonds, and many others. At the front of the room stood Chancellor Vextar, who had once opposed their marriage but now supported them completely. The old Zephyrian noble had changed his mind when he saw how much their love had inspired the galaxy. "Friends and allies," Chancellor Vextar announced, "we gather today to celebrate the future. These children, Marcus and Zara Morrison Velnara, represent a new age of unity and cooperation." Jake looked out at the crowd and saw faces that had once been filled with anger or fear. Now they looked hopeful. A young crystalline woman was holding hands with a human man. A Draknari warrior was standing next to a Zephyrian scientist, both smiling. "Jake Morrison," the Chancellor continued, "you came to us as a simple soldier who had saved our princess. But you became much more. You became a bridge between our peoples, a symbol of what we can achieve when we choose love over fear." The ceremony continued with speeches from leaders across the galaxy. Each one talked about how Jake and Lyra had changed the way people thought about differences. Instead of seeing aliens as enemies, more and more beings were seeing them as potential friends, partners, and family. When it was Jake's turn to speak, he walked to the podium while holding Marcus. Lyra stood beside him with Zara. 15 years ago, I was just a soldier doing his job," Jake began. "I found a scared little girl in a crashed ship, and I decided to help her. I never imagined that simple choice would lead to all of this." He looked at Lyra, who smiled at him with love and pride. "I learned that when you choose to care about someone who's different from you, amazing things can happen. You don't just save them, they save you too." Jake held up his son so everyone could see him. "Marcus and Zara will grow up in a galaxy where being different is something to celebrate, not fear. They'll know that love has no boundaries, that family is what you choose to make it, and that the future belongs to those brave enough to build bridges instead of walls." The crowd erupted in cheers. Jake saw tears of joy on many faces, including his own. After the ceremony, Jake and Lyra walked to their private balcony overlooking the capital city. The suns were setting, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. In the distance, they could see ships from dozens of worlds coming and going peacefully. "Do you ever think about that day in the forest?" Lyra asked, adjusting baby Zara in her arms. "Every day," Jake replied. "I think about that scared little girl who changed my whole life." "I wasn't the only one who was scared. You were terrified too, but you helped me anyway." Jake looked at his wife and children, then out at the peaceful city below. "I had no idea what I was getting into. If someone had told me that saving one alien child would lead to marriage, kids, and changing the galaxy, I would have thought they were crazy." "Would you do it again, knowing everything that would happen?" Jake didn't hesitate. In a heartbeat. Every challenge, every battle, every moment of fear was worth it to get to this moment right here. Lyra leaned against him. "What do you think our children will be like when they grow up? Strong like their mother, stubborn like their father, and hopefully wise enough to make the galaxy even better than we left it." Marcus made a small sound and opened his eyes. He looked up at Jake with curiosity, as if he was already trying to understand the world around him. In his crib, Zara stretched her tiny hand toward the stars. "I think they're going to be amazing," Lyra said. As night fell over the Zephyrian capital, Jake thought about the journey that had brought them here. From a crashed ship in a forest to a nursery filled with hope for the future. From a soldier and a scared child to partners who had helped change the galaxy. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. There would always be people who feared what was different, who preferred fighting to understanding. But tonight, holding his family close while the stars shone down on them, Jake knew that love had won. He had rescued an alien princess as a child, and now he was the father of her children. But more than that, he had discovered that the greatest adventures begin not with grand plans or noble intentions, but with simple acts of kindness toward those who need our help. The galaxy was a better place because a human soldier had chosen compassion over duty, love over fear, and hope over despair. And their children would carry that legacy to the stars, creating an even brighter future for all the beings who called the galaxy home. Jake kissed Lyra's forehead and whispered, "I love you, my princess, my empress, my wife. I love you too, my guardian, my protector, my heart," she replied. Outside, the stars shone with the light of a million worlds, each one a little safer and more hopeful because two people had dared to love across the vast distances of space and time.